lost about $50,000 like overnight. And I was like, okay, I can either fire everybody or I can like sit down and really figure out what it is that we've been doing wrong. The podcast has been revolutionary. 70% of our clients have come because of Spaghetti on the Wall, which is the name of my podcast.
Yeah.
We hit, when we started putting out content on a daily basis, the first month we hit $30,000 a month in revenue in like a month time because of the fact that when we started putting it out, we started getting the confidence to say who we are. One video, one clip could change the course of anybody's life.
Yeah. Well, you've had 45 minutes with me. Who would you say plays Chaz Wolfe in my movie?
I think that a Ryan Reynolds could do that. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe, your host. This is Gathering the Kings podcast. On today's show, I bring you an absolute king in the personal branding industry, Mr. Armando LeDuc. He is the director of LeDuc Entertainment. He's an actor, he's a singer, he's a filmmaker, an entrepreneur, a coach, and a podcast host of a show called Spaghetti on the Wall. This guy's got a lot going on, but extremely talented. Here are the things that we discuss in this show. Armando's 3 steps to process and develop your brand, mapping out a client journey that can transform your business, and Armando uses his entertainment and video production superpower to analyze me and see which actor he would typecast me as. So if you're looking to have better quality relationships in your business and personal life, build your own personal brand, this episode is for you. Subscribe, follow, like, review, leave us a comment. Enjoy the show. All right, Armando, welcome to the King stage. My brother, thanks for being here, man.
Oh, man, always a pleasure with cool people. I've been looking at your stuff, and I dig what y'all do. So,
hey, it is called Gathering the Kings, and today we have gathered the personal brand king, the man himself. Have you? You were just talking off air, like you've had your car wrapped in some of this. You've done social media marketing. You've done personal branding. Like you really like embody this yourself. Even you don't just teach this stuff. You do this.
Correct. Yeah, I'm a real proponent of someone that like, if I'm going to sell it, then I better be doing it, right? Because if it's so great, then why wouldn't I do it? And a lot of marketing companies don't do that, and so I didn't want to be like all these other marketing companies that are like, well, I can put SEO together for you. I'm like, well, did you do it for yourself? Not really, because we're busy and blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, all right. There's a disconnect. So then I didn't want to have a disconnect.
Yeah. You're that disconnect, I'm sure we'll probably get into in the client journey because you help people do this, but it erodes trust, honestly, right? In that moment where you're like, hey, can you show me what you've done for yourself? Oh, well, I haven't done it yet. It's like, oh, how? Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So when we started, a mentor of mine, when I first started in this whole project, he was like, Armando, you're supposed to be like a marketing company and video production, and you guys don't do it for yourselves. That's the problem. And if you start doing it for yourself, then the conviction and how you approach it is going to be so much different. And we hit, when we started putting out content on a daily basis, the first month that I started working with him, we hit $30,000 a month in revenue in like a month time because of the fact that when we started putting it out, we started getting the confidence to say who we are. And it just kind of reinforced us as a company and our messaging and the authority, credibility, all that trust, did all of the pre-selling for us so that when we did get to the conversation, it was just like, it wasn't, the question wasn't whether or not we could help them because they already knew. The question was whether or not they believed that we could help them.
Yeah.
And with the pre-selling of the videos, it was just a no-brainer. It was a lot easier, right? Because it was just tangible and they could see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love your approach. You just gave us so much, and the listener may have just heard like we made some content and that was cool, but like it goes so much deeper than that in basically the pre-framing process or the client journey process. So we're going to definitely get into that. It's funny what you just said though, as far as like kind of drinking your own Kool-Aid. I had a guy just in the last couple of weeks asked me to join a mastermind group, and obviously I run Gathering the Kings. Like this is what I do. I run and facilitate a very, very in-depth, authentic, high-level mastermind. And his approach was, hey, you might need a space to be able to share because it might be difficult in your own space to share your stuff. I was like, I'm going to promote an authentic, opportunity for people to come and be open and share and learn and not share and be authentic in my own space. Like that doesn't make any sense. So same thing that you were just saying there, as far as like using your own stuff. I'm absolutely showing up to the meeting and sharing, or, using our app to be able to not only just give stuff, but also I want help too. So I think that that's pretty important. Let's get into the client journey, because you've already, tipped on it a little bit as far as using content to be able to like later benefit growing the business. But a lot of people talk about this. A lot of people talk about creating videos or posting content, but you say client journey. It's the exact same language that I've used for a long time as well. How do you define that first?
So I read a really good book. It's called Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. Have you read it?
I have not. Please share.
Okay. So it's fantastic. And I just had him on my podcast. This guy is like on a whole nother level in terms of like customer service and how to approach it. And he was talking about, let me give you the little backstory on how I even got to that point, because like we lost, I think, close to $50,000 a month in retaining business.
Wow.
Within like 5 days. And what was happening was our clients were just dropping off. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? What's happening? Yeah. And they were not happy. They were giving me bad reviews. They were just unclear and just really not happy. And we were drinking our Kool-Aid so much that we just became prideful and we're just like, we know what we're doing, yada, yada, yada. And so lost about $50,000 like overnight. And I was like, okay, I can either fire everybody or I can like sit down and really figure out what it is that we've been doing wrong. And what we found was that there was no real journey, and everybody goes on a journey, whether you map it out or not. Everybody's going on a journey. So we were like, man, none of it's mapped out, right? And we started thinking about the Domino's Pizza Tracker. I read this book, Joey Coleman's Never Lose a Customer Again. And as I'm reading this book, I'm like, no wonder everybody was upset. No wonder I had to go and chase people down for money, and the invoices weren't getting paid, and the clients were not happy. And so when we mapped it out and we like just do you know Lucid Chart?
No.
It's that flow chart.
Oh,
it's a software.
Yes.
So we started using flow chart, and we just kind of mapped out the entire journey in terms of not just like where the customer was, but then like what are the KPIs for us and who's in charge accountability wise per touch point, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we started doing that. And then now the clients were like, okay, we're being informed, right? Everybody's being educated as to where we are and how we do it, because we're living it 24/7. They're living it maybe an hour or two a month. Right. So they don't know what's going on. Yeah. Well, then that was great, right? And KPIs were up, we were running on EOS. All of this stuff was making sense. But what we didn't do, that we started implementing later, and I was having trouble in my marriage, and I reread the book, The 5 Love Languages. Yep. And I said, why can't we sort of incorporate this idea of the 5 love languages with relationships that we have with our clients, right? It's all relationships. And so what we did was we went to go high level, and within each pipeline, we had, yes, okay, we're going to send you where you are update-wise Domino's Pizza Tracker, but then we're also going to incorporate a whole nother pipeline of the 5 love languages. So whether we're going to compliment them on a post that they did, or we're going to leave them a Google review, or we're going to refer them business, or we're going to send them a gift, or we're going to try to spend quality time with them, lunch, dinner, a basketball game. And so we started incorporating that, and that was like just game changing, because now like the referrals went up. When we talked to them, they wanted to talk to us. And then I was like, okay, then I went a little bit deeper. I said, okay, let's do it for clients, right? But then let's also do it for referral partners, because I don't think people are really looking at their referral partners as like a client. Like they're just like, I'm just going to, fulfill my client obligations, but we're not really like thinking about a referral partner. So I put a journey together for my referral partners based on that too. Like, how do they sell? do they have a webinar? Could we do a joint venture webinar? Can I leave them a Google review? Can I refer them business? And I have it placed in there like every week. And then it sends me a reminder. Either it's automated through an email with a video that we put together that lets them know what we're doing, or it triggers a task that goes, hey, Monique, can you reach out and do that? And so we started doing that for referral partners. And then we started doing it for our employees.
Wow.
Right? Because then we were like, man, what, we're treating everybody else like they matter. And yet the employees who are really like doing the work, we're forgetting about them. Yeah. And so then we started putting it together for the employees. And so now we have a pipeline for everything through Go High Level. And it just, and it just reminds us or sends out an automation. And like, it's just pre-planned heart touch, contact points.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. I mean, the listener just got, I want them to pause, hit the rewind button and listen to all that again, because everything that you just said, and plus just to kind of put this out here, this is not something that you just sit down one time. Like this, first off, this takes a minute, and this is why you do it for clients, because this is like a real deal lift inside of a business. This is real value here. When you sit down over multiple meetings and really map this out, and then, like you said, assign a team member to one who owns that touch point. And then what you can do, which you also said, but I'll fill it out here a little bit, is that you can train that person to SOPs specifically for that touch point. It's like, you can hit on all cylinders all the way across. And, at different stages in the business, this is going to be maybe more thorough than other times, right? But you've got this intentionality, not just with clients now, but with vendors, strategic partners, and employees. The person listening right now is like, man, that seems like A, a lot of work, or B, man, everything's so systemized. Is it even real? Like, do you actually care about them if it's just a reminder on my calendar? What would you say to those people?
I love that, right? Because people are like, well, it's not authentic. Doesn't feel authentic if you have to plan it, right? Like with my wife. Well, if you don't write it down, then it becomes inauthentic. And I'm like, well, what is that? Makes no sense, right? Because the intentionality is the fact that you pre-planned it. It's the same thing. If you're pre-planning it or you're doing it on the spot, it's better that you pre-plan it because then you're going to do it, right? And so now I have these reminders, and it becomes so ingrained that you no longer need the reminders because you're like, oh, I already know. I'm hitting these people up several times a week with like a funny meme or check out this video, is super powerful, or here's value, or here's so-and-so, you really need to meet this person, or, and it's just like constant giving. The Go Giver, you read The Go Giver?
Yep.
Yeah. It's that principle. It's just like, let's start out that way. I'm sure in your mastermind, you guys are probably delving into a little bit more of like maybe some energy work and things like that. And I had a transformation about 3 weeks ago that like just shook me, right? Like just like changed the fibers of who I am.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I crossed the threshold, I can never go back, right? And so I was at a mastermind called the Visionary Summit.
Okay.
And it's visionaries from across the country, that meet and gather. And it's less about like the money-making aspect, and it's more about the like just the connection. And when you get to the top of the mountain, why are you there? What is the point, right? Because a lot of these guys, they're like super successful, and they got to the mountain and they realized it was just like a bunch of vending machines and nothing. There's nothing there, nobody's there. Yeah. It's just super empty. And so they brought this lady in, Lisa Young, who's a medical doctor turned speaker, energy coach, I would say. And she's just started talking about like the quantum physics and the energy vibrations and all of this. And I was the type of guy that was just like, no, logical. Don't tell me about this stuff. If I can't see it, I don't believe it. Right. And so we just kind of delved in. And then she starts asking me questions, and then we start uncovering things, and just, Armando, you're not living authentically. You're just, you're living in this imposter syndrome because of the trauma that you've had as a kid, and Hawkins levels of consciousness, and you're living in shame most of the time, which is the lowest level of vibration, and it was just like, you just changed me, and I was like, man, I was so I was so concerned with me forcing things, and I'm going 120 miles an hour towards my goal, and I'm just with grit and force,
right.
I'm making things happen. And she was like, well, if you slow down and maybe ask the question whether or not that goal is where you even need to be going. Like there's a flow and you're like, you've crinked off the water. And so there's no flow. You're just like in this dry land when, you know, you could just kind of be tapping into the infinite. Some people call it God, Christianity, Allah, whatever it is that you believe, but that external energy source that's there for you, that if you just let go and you just tap into it, things will happen magically. And it was like, and we just talked about how I had Gino Wickman on the show. I'm telling you, like these opportunities started to just pop up almost magically. Cause I'm just like, I'm clear about what I want. I'm like getting super clear. And 4 years ago, I wrote my vision of the business. And I was like, oh, I want to turn 500 businesses into 7-figure businesses so that they can experience freedom and financial freedom. Blah, blah, blah. It was just words on paper.
Yeah.
And then I thought about, you know, after this conference, I was like, man, I want to, like, what is the vision? Like, what is it that like we actually help people with? And then I figured out with CEOs and visionaries, we actually gave them a voice, right? Through the process of content creation, they were able to like get over their own imposter syndrome, and they were able to like put out their content. And now we're moving into this, now that we're like, I'm thinking in this space, I'm like, well, let's have a conversation about what it is that you really are passionate about. What is one thing that you really want to get out there? And then when we figure that out on the development end of things, instead of us forcing the content and like, hey, we got to get content out, let's figure out what that one thing is. That's something that you're super passionate about. And then when we grab that, then everything else that we do is through the lens of that one thing. And now it just we know we're on brand. We know that they're living authentically. And a lot of this stuff is really scary work for these guys that they don't want to like really put themselves out there that way. But I'm like, but if you start living authentically, and if you start living unapologetically, and you start putting that out there in your truth, then you can really impact like the world, not just get money, right? Because money's going to come. But if you really want to create impact and you think this way, then the growth is just going to be exponential. And we're already starting to see that, which is just, and that's the kick I'm on now. The threshold has been crossed. So I'm kind of like just yelling it over the rooftop.
Well, the bell has been rung. You can't unring the bell. That's for sure. Especially when it comes to that level of enlightenment where you're like, oh, like ding, I see something now that I didn't see before. The overall arching, to give this to the listener here, what Armando just gave to you is uber clarity. Right? Like we can get into laws of success and how Napoleon Hill breaks all this down, even in Think and Grow Rich, his later book. But all of this piece here is you have to be, and sometimes before that even happens, you have to first think. And not just all the time, but it's always. And so all these things that he's been putting out, this vibration, if you will, everything operates. The desk that I'm standing at right now has a vibration. This is a frequency. This is not woo. This is science. This is like you said, logic. I'm high logic too. It is. It's not maybe. It is. Okay. So if that is truth, then what else is true? That means that I'm operating on a frequency. You know, I've done 450 plus episodes. I know you've done a ton as well. But when you interview people, there's a frequency that goes back and forth between two humans. Even though we are light years away from each other physically, I can see you on my screen. I can hear your voice. And as we go back and forth here, I already knew this conversation was going to be interesting based on the other stuff I've seen of you. And I'm sure you probably felt the same way. This is because we operate at a certain frequency. And I'll even go as far as to say, some of your clients that find it hard to do content, the listener right now might be finding, it's difficult or whatever. Look, I feel the same way. I'm an introvert naturally, right? And I even like, cringe when I say that, because it's like, do I really want to put myself in that box? It's like, okay, well, I took a survey and it basically helps me understand where I get my energy. Okay, cool. I get energy from being alone. Cool. But I also get energy from being with people because I've told myself that that's how I get energy. And so I bring energy so that I can get energy. Here we are. It's Monday at 8:25 a.m. my time, and you would not know from my voice, right? Because here we are making it happen.
Agreed. It's, do you know the Tacoma Narrows Bridge?
No. Bro, you're bringing all kinds of new stuff here. Come on.
So the Tacoma Narrows Bridge was built in the 50s, and there's video of it on YouTube. Just search the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. But they built the suspension bridge, and what happened was they didn't know that when the wind came through that it was going to resonate in the frequency of the bridge. And what happened was you see steel and concrete waving.
Wow.
Like it's just water. And then it just collapses, right?
Yeah.
And so I learned about that story when I was singing. I used to sing barbershop back in the day. And so we went to Harmony College and they talked about this, like the resonant frequency thing. And it just like those two things kind of clicked for me a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about like the resonant frequency and like how if we're vibrating high, we're going to attract that. And lower frequency, if you're meeting someone and they're at a lower frequency and you're vibrating high, like it's going to shatter that lower frequency. Like it can't be in the same space. It has to elevate to that, which is kind of crazy to me when you think about it, how powerful just tapping into the infinite and really tapping into living your authentic self. And look, when I tell you I lived in shame, I grew up, being the black sheep. When I read this book called Driven by Dr. Brockman. Anyway, it's called Driven. And it talks about people like us that have this gene where we just can't stop. It's just, we're never satisfied. We have that D2, D4 gene where it's just like, man, we have to do that. And it was so validating for me to finally like go, oh, wow, there is nothing wrong with me. People just didn't understand how to react to me.
That's right.
And so I lived in shame for like years with a 1.8 grade point average going, oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm stupid. Oh, I'm always going to be in trouble. Oh, there's always something wrong with me. Instead of going, oh, wow, this is somebody special, and when you start to live authentically and live unapologetically and stop, Armando, you got to put it down. Armando, bring it down. Armando,
you're being too much.
I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be passionate. I might be in your face a little bit. Like that's just me. And that's okay. If that's not for you, that's not for you. And that's totally cool too, but I'm just, I'm done living in this, with this mask. I was an actor also for, in 98. And it all makes sense now as to why I got into that space, because I was like, oh, if you judge me, it's because of this character. I'm this character. I'm not Armando. So you can judge that, but you can't judge me, And so now I'm just like, well, it's just me. This is who I am, whatever.
Yeah. I remember several years ago, I was actually mowing. I remember the time, but I was listening to the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. And that same expression that you just gave of like, I had permission now to be who I was. Like when I was reading his thought process inside of that book, I was like, someone else, this is amazing. It's not just me. And of course I don't have nearly the success that he does yet, but in that moment as a young Chaz, I was like, oh, this is exactly who I'm made to be. Like a little bit crazy, a lot of bit intense, and nobody is going to understand me. Oh, great. I look around. Nobody currently understands me. We're good. Yeah. Let's just keep going because I've already achieved. You're unique, fine, whatever. I think that to your point, though, it's just for the listener, it's like, okay, especially if they're listening here, they're an entrepreneur. They're probably not like anybody else. Christmas, Thanksgiving, time with the family looks probably a little awkward. Like, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I had my brother here just a week and a half ago. He's finishing up a veterinarian school, and he did a rotation here in Kansas City and stayed with us for a few weeks. And he's 11 years younger than I am, so we've known each other, but there's a gap, right? And so we got to spend some time together, and we were talking about some money stuff and him planning, getting out of college and stuff, and I gave him some things to think about. And he's like, that's just a totally different way to think about it. And he's like, actually, I think that's a little bit of your MO. You just think differently. I'm like, oh, buddy, just the little tip of what you know.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't,
me and my sister's my project manager, and she's older than me.
Okay.
And we're just so different, in terms of like our thought process and what we do. But another book I read, Pat Lencioni's 6 Types of Working Genius. Have you read that?
I am Working Genius certified, so I'm all in it with you.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that really changed the game for me. I apologize to a lot of people who had discernment as their superpower, because I was like, man, I just feel like you're always like crapping on the idea, but no, you're just using your discernment to go, hey, that might not be the best idea, and you're like, yeah, you're right. I should probably sit down and think about that a little bit.
That's right. I'm gonna guess that you're a galvanizer.
100%.
Yeah. What's your second one?
And invention.
Invention. Okay.
Yeah.
That would have been my guess.
How
I am
about
a discerner, so I would have been that guy. But it, like you said, it's not necessarily the pooing on ideas. It's actually going, wait a second, there might be some strategy here, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love the concept of knowing, personality types and how you can really leverage that and make people happier because they're working in what they love to do instead of what you want them to do, which I used to do all the time.
Since you're kind of familiar with that, of course, we use Culture Index as well. We try to overlay Culture Index and Working Genius with our clients because you're right. Having that joy and fulfillment, as Working Genius kind of describes it, in the workplace makes for a win-win for the team member as well as for the entrepreneur. And so, like, I see this as your client journey, though, like part of the employee journey, if you will. It's like if I can get them not only hitting on all cylinders, like up to speed training wise and doing the thing that makes sense for their personality. I got the sales guy in the sales role. I got the tech guy in the tech role, but also that Working Genius piece of like, what part of the process are they in and what meetings are they a part of? Then they start to really get joy out of what they're doing. How does that fit into the planning ahead and not having it feel authentic? Because if I know you like on a piece of paper, is it even authentic? I'm kind of same vein here. What would you like to say about that?
In terms of the employee journey?
Yes. Like, okay, so if Working Genius, if I can have someone take a survey of personality or Working Genius, and then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like I can see you and I put you here. It feels, again, transactional. Like I know it's not, obviously, because I use it, but like talk to this for a second. Someone might be listening right now going, yeah, I don't like to use those tools because it doesn't feel like I get to know them very well, right? It's just a piece of paper. It's just an assessment.
Yeah, look, I don't, it's like horoscopes too. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be like hanging your hat on I'm a Capricorn and this is what I am from now on, But it does give you insight as to what you like, what your tendencies are. And it also helps with communication. If I know that I love DISC as well.
Yep.
So if I know that somebody's a high I and a high D, you know what I mean? Then I'm just gonna crank up the enthusiasm and give them I love that does
the
that.
Thumbs up, yeah.
Just the whole thing. But the enthusiasm, and then just give them the facts. Don't get caught up in the weeds. But if they're an S type, then I'm going to have to sit down and get more touchy-feely about the whole thing. And if they're C types, then, let's get analytical and I'm going to give you all the stats and, and sort of talk to you in that way. And you can really, when you start to study this a little bit more, you can start to feel within a 5-10 minute process where they fall in the categories. Because if they're high D, they're going to cut you off quick, get to the point, speed this up. They're looking at their time. They're, scrolling, if they're S's, they're going to just, make a lot of eye contact and slow it down a bit and, want to talk about things a little bit more. I's are going to be like, super energized, just the sizzle is super important to them, and the C's are going to be like, all right,
where's the spreadsheet?
What is this? What do you want? What is it that, and just get, super cold but analytical, And so all of those things together when I'm thinking about it, and as I get further along into my entrepreneurship and the more people I talk to on my podcast, it's all about relationships. It really is all about that. And when I start to focus on those things that make me a better communicator and want to communicate better, people feel it. And so I think that's where the authenticity comes from and why that stuff works. Not necessarily because I'm like, it's a tactic in order to get something.
Right.
And I was that guy for a long time. I would Trojan horse the shit out of things. Trojan horse stuff is just, people feel that really quickly. And that comes back to that imposter syndrome of not living authentically and not thinking that you're worth what it is that you do and how you help, you know, and you feel like you have to kind of trick somebody into to doing business with you. And that's when people talk about manipulation and sales and they don't want to be salesy, it's because you don't really feel like your offer or what you do is worth the money. Because when you do, then that conversation is easy because they're like, how much is it? Let's go.
Right.
Yeah,
well, and you've added the value.
I want to work with you.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Hey, kings and queens, Chaz, Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other grow.
Yeah, I think even just like this podcast process, so I'm not sure of how you've seen your show, but I have been on plenty of shows, even before I started my own. And you know, a couple of them you get to the end and it's like, oh, dang, bummer. This is a sales call. Bummer, dude. Like I was really enjoying this. And then, here you hit me out of left field. And it's so funny because as we built out this show, you know, like, don't be dumb. I have strategic people on the show. Like whether it's a relationship that's going to maybe turn into a client, a relationship that's going to be strategic from a partnership, a relationship that can connect me with somebody else. Like don't be silly. Like I don't just have anybody on the show. We have a qualification process. We have an interview process. Like I want to know, how is this going to benefit the both of us? But I don't actually know. It's not like it sets up for another call, right? We've had people join the mastermind. We've had people that I've flown and had lunch with, and people that referred me to other people. And we've created strategic partnerships with people that have been on the show. Like it has been completely life-giving. And I think mostly, I come from 20 years sales experience. I built a sales team for Grant Cardone. Like talk about like forced sales process. Like that's the guy.
Right.
And it's like, no, I've never been like that. I've never had to be or sell like that in order to be a top producer. And this show, to your point, has been the exact same. It's like, no, I'm just going to shake hands with a bunch of amazing people and we'll just see what happens. But I want you to press into this a little bit. Tell me what your experience with your show, because then I'm going to take this to creating relationships and referral partners, which is a big part of what you talk about.
I call it the trifecta, and when I do that, don't. It's not Illuminati. It's just a triangle. That's all. It's just a triangle. It's a triangle. It's my trifecta. It's my 3-point process for how we help people develop their personal brands and get it out there and amplify the message. So the first quadrant is the customer journey, because I always map it out ahead of time, because if you don't know what your customer journey is, then it doesn't matter if you bring in a bunch of people. If you don't have a flow for them to go through and how you want them to interact with the business, like you're doing them a disservice, plus you're doing yourself a disservice. So we really get clear about what it is that you're doing, how people are interacting with your business, how you help. And then that way we can create things around that, which at the top is your podcast, right? And so when we come out, our thing is that we come out once a month and we shoot 150 to 200 pieces of content in a day. And that also includes your podcast. So basically we figure out, okay, what is it that your one thing? We tie that to your podcast, right? And then we set up at 9 o'clock, you have a podcast guest from 9 to 9:30. Then from 9:30 to 10, we do a bunch of Q&A. 10 o'clock, another podcast guest at 10:30. Then 10:30 to 11, we're doing another set of Q&A. 11 o'clock, another podcast guest. 11:30, same deal. Then we take lunch. Then we roll into creating all of their customer journey videos, right? So we'll do all of that. And then we'll finish the day off with like another set of Q&As, but like throughout the town, just kind of fun stuff, right? So it's different locations, different outfits. And so that's what the day consists of. And then the third quadrant is the organic social. So we just take clips from that day, and then we're posting it across all platforms, social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the whole nine. So I like to call it the trifecta too. So to your point, the podcast has been revolutionary. 70% of our clients have come because of Spaghetti on the Wall, which is the name of my podcast.
Yeah.
And it's because, to your point, like I wasn't getting them on to sell them. I was just getting them on, one, because they could teach me something, right? Two, we can talk about like things that are going to actually help people, not just like, let's have a conversation to have a conversation, Yeah. And I love how you're super intentional about this too. I like, when I first started my podcast, it wasn't as intentional, but now it is, because it's like, okay, if I'm going to have like a Gino Wickman on, like, what can we, is there one or two things that they can garner from this podcast that could change their life? To a point, a video can change, one clip could change the course of anybody's life. And I'll tell you how it has with Brene Brown, who, you know Brene Brown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I watched, she wasn't on my show, but I was setting it up. So she was on my show. No, I was watching a video of her on a podcast talk about how before she comes home, she has a conversation with her husband, either through text or a phone call, and they have a scale of 1 to 10. Where are they? 1 being, super down in the dumps, 10 being amazing. And so they tell each other where they're at, And so when they get home, if she's at a 3 and he's at a 3, well, then they're going to give each other grace and they're going to really be there for each other. But if he's at a 10 and she's at a 1, well, then he knows he's going to have to do the heavy lifting, Or if they're both at a 10, well, they know where they're going to be. And it was so crazy because I was like, that one video, I told my wife, and I was like, hey, why don't we just start doing this? Before I get home, I want to know where you're at, and you can tell me where I'm at. And now when we get home, there's this, I'm greeting you in a way where I know where you are, and I can provide grace and be more, just more connected. And that one video, right, changed my relationship. And that's the thing about social media these days. And, I know there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot. Totally. But if you can live authentically, and if you can figure out that one thing and something that's super powerful to you, and that that what we ask our clients to do when we're digging in on the development side and to figure out that one thing, a lot of times it's tied to a traumatic experience, right? It is the thing that got them to where they are today,
sure,
right? Yeah. I had a client in Fort Lauderdale, their work injury firm, and we're sort of kind of going through this rebrand. And I said, let's talk about where let's talk about what sort of things that you've gone through. And she said, well, I'm a cancer survivor. Just kind of
just
threw it
nonchalant
out as if nothing, nothing. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold on, wait, time out. You survived cancer. Tell me the story. And she said, oh, well, I just had my first child. I wasn't feeling right. I knew I wasn't feeling right. I talked to the doctors. The doctors were like, no, it's just hormonal. Don't worry about it. Wow. She took it upon herself to do, her own research, found out that this was this really rare cancer, ended up going to New York and eradicated it, luckily. But she just blew past it. And her imposter syndrome came through going, well, who wants another cancer survivor story? Why does it matter? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. If this story could affect one person to empower them to maybe get a second opinion, and that saves their life, and then that ripple effect of them still being here, it is, when you think about that on a quantum mechanics level, yep. It is just, wow, the ripple effects. And that's when I was just like, wow, this is super powerful. I'm in a different realm, which is like, now I'm like, I got to really tap into the infinite. Cause like, if I think that this is going to be me talking to somebody going, oh, this is what you need to be doing. I feel like these days I'm just a vessel. And as we talk about it, I just really sounding really woo these days. I'm just telling you, man, I'm like,
just living the cliche. That's all.
Yeah. But I'm just like, I got to be a vessel, and the things are going to come out of me, and they don't necessarily need to come from me, from this ego level, just like this tapping into the infinite. And hopefully I can get them to really realize their power. And when they do that, then they can start living that way. And it's just like, oh man, we're doing something that's super impactful, because look, this world is, as we're, P. Diddy and I just watched this Quiet on Set show, that I mean, it was just all of this negative stuff. And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
what we really need is a higher vibration and just a thought mindset shift.
Yeah.
Globally.
I loved how you helped her, just really to the importance of the one, but it's not even really just the one. I've done the same equation with actually a few people here on the show. It's like, how many employees do you have? Okay, great. How many members of their family? Okay, how many clients do you have? How many members of their family? How many people in your community? Like, you just pretty quick within just the people who are alive currently, not even future generations who will be impacted by those people like you were just describing. It's like thousands. And when I realized that, it's like, oh, wow, like literally my decisions today, right now, are going to impact thousands. This conversation, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of people are going to see this in the next couple of weeks because, who knows what YouTube will bring. But over the next 20 years, that one person that saw it and then did XYZ with it, I don't know. To your point, I just love that. I love that big ripple effect process. How have you used, kind of circle back here on the trifecta? I love your little description there. Referral partners and creating relationships, networking. You talk a lot about this. We were kind of just hitting on the value of relationships and being authentic about it, and maybe not as, salesy or pushy through the process, but talk a little bit more about referral partners specifically. They're listening right now. Maybe he's a contractor, or maybe he or she runs a agency like you, or maybe, whatever their business is. Why are strategic partnerships or referral partnerships important, and how are you helping your clients build them?
I brought one person on my podcast who referred me about $500,000 worth of business. One relationship, one partner. So when you start, there's a book, 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. You've read it?
Yeah.
When you start thinking in those terms, in like, okay, I could continue to hit one person up at a time, one person. Or I can start to develop relationships with a person that already has the clout. There's a really amazing story Rockefeller told about, and I don't know if you know this story, but somebody went to him to want to borrow $100,000, and he was like, I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to walk up and down the stock exchange with my arm around you, having a conversation. And by the end of the day, everybody's going to want to do business with you. And that's the same thing, right? That's how powerful podcasting and referral partnerships are these days, is that if you can align yourself with like one person who can open the door for you, and they can really understand what it is that you do and how you help. And when you know what that one thing is, when you know how you help, and when you know that the target market is going to find you because that is who you are, then it's going to be a lot easier to refer you business too. And when you're in contact with your referral partners in a way that's more meaningful, instead of like, I'm reaching out again this week to
business.
Just stay in contact. Yeah. Like, it's just not, it's just not a thing. Like, I try to help them. I try to like, go, hey, do you have a webinar? Tell me how do I sell you? And like, I put it on them always. I'm just asking them questions throughout like the weeks, and I really get to understand who they are. And then I'm like, I can connect you with so many people now because I really understand you. And then they're like, oh, Armando, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the same. And you'll know too, also within real quick, like when you start giving to somebody, whether or not they're going to reciprocate. And that's not why you do it, right? No. Like the reciprocation isn't. Yeah, but there is an indicator that's like, okay, this is probably going to be more of a me giving situation. And look, that may be where they are in their journey. And that's okay too. I'm not judging them for it. If I can provide value and I can help them without expecting anything in return, that's fine too. Because somehow, some way, it's going to come back. Whether it's even just me doing more reps on connecting with people, like just that is worth it for me.
Yeah, it's huge. I think that the mindset there is it's so easy to get trapped in the give, tick for tack. However, I just want to encourage that, the listener isn't like, you can't just give to everybody all the time. And that's not what you're saying, because there are empty places where you can give, and you'll give and you'll give and you'll give forever because it's not actually good soil, right? So you can still plant seeds in bad soil and no harvest is going to come up. So you still got to make sure that the soil is good. And if you're a little uncertain, or if maybe it's newer soil, that's okay. Like those things are still good. Maybe that's a 10-year or a 20-year or a 100-year type of return. You just never know. You did this really cool thing with your team. I saw a clip on it. So I want you to talk about why you did this. And then I got a kind of an interesting question for you. But you created, or you assigned actors for each one of your team. Like if you were going to do like a movie for your business, and you're like, this guy would play this guy and this guy would play that guy. Tell me about what this was all about for you.
So, we come from a film background. I've been doing television and film since 2005, and then theater since 98. So we just finished a trailer for our company called Content Into Clients, and it was like an action movie that we put together.
Yeah.
So I just like to do more fun things. It wasn't necessarily a reason behind it so much as to just have fun with, with how people view you in the lens of like who could play you as an actor, and that was it was a fun thing to do. I try to keep things fun around here because obviously we're, in production too. So we're not accountants. So let's do more fun things.
There's not too many C's that work over there, or maybe they're just behind the camera. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no. There's definitely some C's around here, but they're more on, CFO side and, which I'm very thankful and glad for those folks.
They like to count dollars, and it's good because, profiles like yours don't count dollars. It's not even though you don't even like to, you just don't.
I just don't. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go for the bargain. I'm not even looking at it. But I think that's the D personality. It's just like, all right, let me get out of here. Why am I shopping? Like, if I can get somebody to shop for me, that'd be even better.
Yeah. Well, you've had 45 minutes with me. Who would you say plays Chaz Wolfe in my movie?
Chaz Wolfe. I think that a Ryan Reynolds could do that. Yeah. Yeah.
See, this is a superpower. I knew it was a superpower, but I thought I'd put you on the spot here to see.
Well, I used to teach actors, and so for the first thing that I would do is I would do a typecasting workshop, right? And it's so funny because like all of this stuff makes sense now. Because when you're getting typecast, like if I'm looking at you, I'm going, okay, how am I going to take headshots? How am I going to promote you as if I'm your agent? So I would look at you and go, okay, this guy has a beard. He's wearing a t-shirt. He has a beard, but it's clean, right? So it's not just like out here looking rough. You got a haircut. You know what I mean? You're probably in your 30s, 30 to 35 maybe. You're probably like, I would probably cast you as an entrepreneur. I would probably cast you as the friend of the protagonist. Although if you shaved, you could probably be the lead. You could probably do some action stuff. I could see you doing like you have kind eyes. So I could see you being involved in like the Mayans, but like you get pulled into it because you just got pulled into it, not because like you were searching for it. Like you were just,
sure.
Your friend may have been in it. Now you're in it. Now you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So that's how, those are the things that I would cast you as.
That's funny.
If I was like kind of looking at you.
If we weren't into the woo topic well enough, I want to just bring the entrepreneur or bring the listener to flow state, because you, my friend, were just in flow state. I don't have a clue if any of those things are accurate from a perspective of me, but you, my friend, were just in flow state, and I loved every moment of it. So thank you for showing us your superpower. The art of the impossible. Stephen Kotler talks about the flow state, and this is an incredible place. So anyway, one last question here for you, Armando. I got to know if you could, reel back the clock, talk to the younger Armando. What would you whisper in his ear?
Nothing's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. You just live your journey. You're gonna go through, you're gonna go through it like everybody else. Like it's just life, but don't go through life thinking that something's wrong with you. That's what I would tell myself.
Super powerful. Well, I want to give the opportunity to the listener to connect with you. You obviously have several services inside of your business. You help with the people with the trifecta. Really, you're helping personal brands grow, but you're helping them with a podcast. You're helping them with content. You're helping them with social media. You got all kinds of stuff that you do inside of that. Tell us, how can we find you? How can they get a call with you? How can they grow their personal brand with you?
Sure. LeDucentertainment.com. If you Google me too, Armando LeDuc, I'm super easy to find. If you send us a DM, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, we're very, we're really on top of that. So we can, respond to you. We are changing. We are rebranding to the LeDuc Agency, but LeDucentertainment.com will push to the new website. So 2-3 years from now, if you're listening to this, it'll be the LeDuc Agency.
There you go. As you've already spent time visualizing and making come to fruition. So I'm sure all those things that you've been thinking about are in motion. Armando, an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for being here. You have a great business. I love that you've taken your personal stuff and you are now helping other people do the same. In fact, it's actually what you're helping them do, take their personal stuff and help other people do the same. It really is a huge impact, and I've enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for being here, brother.
Hey, man. Thank you so much, Chaz.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.